All right, guys. So you remember SOFAGATE when Ursula von der Leyen, the EU chief, went to visit Erdogan in Ankara in Turkey, the EU Commission head, Ursula von der Leyen, and she was her and Michel, the other EU head honcho. These two boneheads, they were going to sit down with Erdogan and the foreign minister Cavusoglu, and they were going to do their photo shoot and media time, whatever it is, where they sit down and they do their PR crap. And anyway, yeah, two seats were there. Michel sat in one. Of course, Erdogan sat in the one seat, which is his, which he sits there all the time. There's the Turkish flag. You can see it right there. And then they had the EU flag, and Michel sat at that seat. And Ursula von der Leyen was like caught on camera saying, and what about me? And they put her on the sofa. Well, she's now making this into a sexist thing. So von der Leyen speaks of sexism after the Turkey snub. EU Commission head Ursula von der Leyen said she felt hurt and alone after being left without a seat in Ankara. The incident reflects a bigger problem with gender equality, according to the top EU official. Here's a tweet from von der Leyen. My visit to Turkey showed how far we still have to go before women are treated as equals, always, everywhere. My story made headlines, but there are so many stories of women, most of them far more serious, that go unobserved. We have to make sure these stories are also told. Yeah, this is... Boy, the PR people at EU headquarters in Brussels, they got together and they... This is the narrative that they formulated. This is the narrative that this was a snub because von der Leyen is a woman. It could be, but I think this is more of a snub because both von der Leyen and Michel, who coincidentally is a man, are idiots. And they have zero experience in diplomacy. Zero. And it showed. And Erdogan knew it, and he took advantage of it. From what I understand, they asked for 2 seats. 1, 2. 2 seats. Erdogan, Michel. Maybe they should have asked for 3 seats. Maybe, when they saw there were only 2 seats, Michel should not have sat in that seat, and he should have stood with von der Leyen and been like, excuse me, Mr. President, can you please get another seat to put there so that we all 3 of us can sit there? Or maybe Michel and von der Leyen could have stood together and said, you know what, Mr. President, you obviously haven't set things up properly, so we're just going to wait, or we're going to go back to the hotel and come back and do our PR media thing when you're ready. Maybe they could have done that. But what happened instead? Instead, Michel, a man, the other EU head honcho, sat down in that seat, and he sat down and he, sat back like that, put his feet up. He didn't care. He didn't care. So maybe Ursula von der Leyen, maybe the problem with sexism is an EU problem, because if Michel was, say, a chivalrous man, if Michel, say, was had manners, he would have stood with you. Or he would have said, Madam Commissioner, please sit there. Mr. Erdogan, can you please bring another seat for me? That would have been maybe the polite thing to do. Maybe that would have been the honorable thing to do. But Michel didn't do that. Michel sat down. And he just left Ursula von der Leyen just sitting there. So maybe the problem is an EU problem and not a Turkey problem. Maybe. Just maybe. But anyway, the PR guys, they got together at some conference room in Brussels, and they said, okay, how do we smooth over the situation of Ursula von der Leyen getting made a fool out of by Erdogan? Let's just blame it on sexism. Yeah. And then let's turn things around and make Ursula von der Leyen the champion of women's rights. So that's how they're going to spin this. So now Ursula von der Leyen has a cause. And this is a great distraction from her terrible management of the EU, especially with regards to the shots. She's done a terrible job with the shots and the distribution and everything. I mean, She should be fired 10 times over, as should Michelle, as should all of them. They should be fired 10 times over for the job that they're doing with regards to the shot distribution and rollout. But now they've thought of a really good SJW woke distraction, which is Erdogan was mean to me and made me sit on a sofa because I'm a woman. Now, once again, maybe that could be the case, but you didn't have to sit down on that sofa, Ursula von der Leyen. Hell, you are the European Commission president. You could have stood firm, stood strong, and said, Mr. President of Turkey, can you please get us another chair? Or, Mr. Michel, we're leaving. We're going to go back to the hotel and we're going to come back when the Turkish delegation has everything properly set up. But that wasn't the case. You sat down. You sat down and you fell for the trap. Hook, line, and sinker. Hook, line, and sinker. There it is, M. She's like, M. Yeah. And Michelle sat down, so I think the problem is an EU problem, not a woman problem. Maybe Ursula von der Leyen, you need to have a sit down with your EU chiefs, with your EU upper management, and talk to them about these things. The incident showed how far we still have to go before women are treated as equals. Always and everywhere, the EU Commission chief said, as she called for action towards women's rights. Let's find another quote from her. I cannot find any justification for how I was treated. I have to conclude that it happened because I am a woman, she said. Would this have happened if I had worn a suit and a tie? Yes. I felt hurt and I felt alone as a woman and as a European. No, you're a globalist and you felt hurt and alone because you don't understand diplomacy. That's why. Because you're way in over your head. You've been put in this position that requires an intellectual capacity way above that which you possess, Ms. von der Leyen. And the same holds true for Mr. Michel as well. Because Mr. Michel, you sat down in that seat like a bonehead as well. So, I mean, these two, von der Leyen and Michel, they travel around the world and they have these meetings. I mean, this is like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. It's like the movie Dumb and Dumber. It's literally what it's like, these two. And Erdogan being a very clever politician. Not a fan of Erdogan. I am not a fan. But boy, did he understand that these two people are idiots. And did he set the trap and they completely fell for it? Just admit it. People would have much more respect for von der Leyen if she said, you know what? I'm inexperienced and I fell for it. I fell for Erdogan's little trap, and Michelle, you bonehead, why did you sit down? And they could have maybe spun a joke around it and that would have been that. Instead, they're making it into this women's right sexism cause. Anyway, guys, that's the video. More lies from the European Union, more BS. This has nothing to do with von der Leyen being a woman as much as it has to do with Michel being a man. They both went to Turkey and they both messed up. And Erdogan showed them that he was the boss and that the European Union is weak, ineffective, and useless. We've gone from having Juncker, who was a 24-hour drunk, and he was with Tusk, whose family has sketchy ties to NAZI history. Anyway, went from those two, went from Tusk and Juncker to Tweedledee and Tweedledum, von der Leyen and Michel. Yeah. Europe is screwed. Absolutely screwed. All right, guys, that's the video. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch. Pick up a magic mug, maybe a shirt. Check out Alexander's channel. The link is down below. Go to the Duran, the main channel, down below as well. Help out this channel, which has been completely demonetized. And subscribe. Hit that like as well, guys. Hit that like. Take care.